welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we are doing a book haul for all of the books that I got in August and September. I have about 11 books here to talk about, so let's get into it. We'll start out with some of the more recent releases. The first one that I have is Moon Dark Smile by Tessa Gratton. So this is the companion sequel to Nightshine, which I read a couple years ago, whenever it came out. I think it came out 2 years ago. And I really enjoyed it. It's YA fantasy. Tessa Gratton is one of my favorite authors. So I'm excited to get this sequel. I don't know too much about it. I think that it is following the child of some of the characters from the first book. The main character in this is Raeliel Darksmile, and one day she will become emperor, and when she does, will be bound to the palace. And so before that happens, she wants to strike out and, you know, experience life, see the world, things like that. That is my impression of what this is about. I honestly don't know too many details about this, and that'll kind of be a theme with a lot of these books, is that I don't want to know too much about them, but this, you know, it's by Tessa Gratton. It's the next book in this series, so I kind of don't need to know a lot about it, but I'm very much looking forward to this. Next up, my next new release, actually, like, I just got this like 2 days ago in the mail, is The Genesis of Misery by Neon Yang. This is like one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I mean, this was also an anticipated release, but The Genesis of Misery, I'm very excited about. Neon Yang wrote the Tensor series, which is a series of novellas that are silkpunk fantasy, and I really loved those. I read those last year, I think, and just loved it. So I'm very excited to have another book from them. And also, I think this is their first like full-length novel. I think it's their first sci-fi. So very intrigued by it. I'm not a big sci-fi reader, but I have been wanting to get more into sci-fi, and so I'm hoping that this will help me do that because it is an author that I have enjoyed before. Like, I've liked their fantasy, so hopefully I will like their sci-fi. Maybe that'll be like a good entry point for me to get more into sci-fi. I, again, don't know too much about this other than that this is sort of a sci-fi space opera retelling of Joan of Arc with robots. Like, I don't know too much about it, but I'm very excited. Okay, I have a couple more sci-fi books. I just like was in the mood to get sci-fi. This is, I think I've said this before, that like I have very much been in the mood to buy sci-fi books, not necessarily in the mood to read the sci-fi books. So at some point I'm gonna have to like actually get myself together and read sci-fi books, but I have a couple more. So I think this one came out earlier this year, so it can kind of be in the like recent-ish releases, which is A Half-Built Garden by Ruth Anna Emrys. I think this is sort of a first contact kind of sci-fi. I have heard that it's kind of slow paced, a little bit philosophical, which sounds interesting to me. I am kind of, because I'm trying to get more into sci-fi, I kind of want to try different types of sci-fi to see what works for me. So we'll see if, you know, something that's a little slower, first contact, philosophical kind of approach works. But yeah, it sounds interesting to me from what I've heard of it, and it is maybe a little bit of a cover buy because this cover is beautiful. So just have to acknowledge that it was a bit of a cover buy. And then finally we have A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers, which is the second book in the Monk and Robot series of novellas. And I have already read this, really enjoyed it. I read this in August, so it was in my August wrap up. I'll link it below. But I have really enjoyed this series. I haven't loved her Wayfarer series as much, which I think is the one that she's most well known for, but this Monk and Robot series I have just really been liking. It is also like a little bit philosophical. It is hope punk. It's very like soft, and like it just is very like soft and cozy feeling. and I just really enjoy this. So anyways, I'm not doing a review of this. This is a book haul. I bought this book. Book haul accomplished. Okay, so those are my like recent releases. Now to get into some other books that are less recently released. I recently picked up Song of Blood and Stone by L. Penelope, which is the first book in the Earthsinger Chronicles. This is a book that I have been meaning to pick up for such a long time, and I just never got around to it, and then I finally like decided to get it. Really glad that I did, because I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know too much about this, but it has like earth magic in it. So I think the main character has some kind of earth magic where she can like manipulate the earth in some way. I don't know that much. I just was drawn in by the promise of earth magic. So we'll see what happens. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this one, so I don't really know what to expect from it. But I'm excited. Also, I really love the font on this book. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy the font. So just had to tell you all. Okay, then kind of getting into some older books. One is that I picked up Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth, another one that I've been meaning to read for a very long time, and just like never got around to. I think this might be more like historical fantasy. I don't think it's purely fantasy. I think this is a retelling of Rapunzel, but we're following 3 different characters. I think we're following like the story of Rapunzel, but also maybe the author of Rapunzel and then some other character that she knows also. So I think there are like 3 storylines that are kind of weaving together, but one of them is like a Rapunzel retelling. So that's very interesting to me. I haven't really read a lot of Rapunzel retellings. And Kate Forsyth is an author that I've been wanting to read more from. I read one series by her a long time ago, and I actually been meaning to reread it. I read The Witches of Ilianan, which I meant to reread this year and just never got around to it. And so the solution, I guess, was to buy a different book from her. I'm not really sure, but I have just been wanting to read more from her. So I want to reread that and then also get into this. Okay, so the next couple of books are all from like 2 authors, because something that I've been wanting to do recently is like, if I find an author that I like a book from and they have lots of other books, if they have a lot of like backlist, is just read a couple of those books like pretty quickly after having read a book and enjoyed it from them, because I want to kind of see, do I actually like this author? Is this an author that I want to continue with and want to track? Or was it just like, you know, an anomaly that I liked this one book from them? So instead of drawing it out and being like, oh, maybe I'll like this other book, maybe I won't, like I want to just read a couple books from them to see if I want to keep following them. So first up, we have 2 books from Sharon Shin. So earlier this year, I read Summers at Castle Auburn by Sharon Shin, which is a standalone, and I really enjoyed it. Like, there were definitely some things about it that I feel like could have been fleshed out more or done a little bit better, but overall, I enjoyed her writing and like storytelling, so I'm interested in reading more things from her. She kind of has like 3 main series that seem to be her most popular. These are the first books in 2 of them. The third one is about angels, and I just like I'm not interested in angels. It's not a trope that I really enjoy, so I decided to just pick up these 2. First up is Mystic and Rider. What I know about this is that it is set in a world where some people really hate magic. The king has tried to actually make magic more acceptable, but it is not really, that viewpoint is not really taking in certain circles. And so he has sent out his mystic, who is the main character that we're following, to essentially like assess the level of danger that these different people pose to magic users. And she has to take like a group of people with her, some of whom are not really a fan of her, not really a fan of magic either. So it's kind of an odd combination of people who are kind of going on this journey. That's about all I know from it. I feel like with Sharon Shin's books, the descriptions of them tend to be relatively vague. Like this gives me more than the description that I got for Castle Auburn, because like, oh my god, that description told me absolutely nothing about the book. But even so, I don't have a very strong sense of what this book is about. And this one, I tried to figure out like, what is this about? But like, it seems relatively vague. The other one that I have is Troubled Waters, also by Sharon Shin, which is the first book in another, what's the series name? I don't know, it's something about elements. So this is taking place in a world where people have elemental magic. The main character that we're following has water magic and like an affinity with water. I think she's sent off to be like the 5th wife of the king, and then she finds out it has like special water magic. Not just normal water magic, but special water magic. But wanted to give Sharon Shin's books a try and see if I want to continue on with one or both of these series. Okay, then from there, I'm just piling these books on my lap, and so I've started like leaning on them, and also I'm a little bit afraid that they're gonna fall over. So let's just move some books so at least fewer things are balancing on my lap. Okay, that's better. The next author that I have a couple of books from is Patricia McKillip. I have 3 books from her. So earlier this year I read, what book did I read from Patricia McKillip? Odd Magic, that's what it was. I read Odd Magic, really enjoyed it, and wanted to try some more things from her. So first up, I have The Changeling Sea. This is very short. I think this is more of a middle grade, but this is also the one that I see most people like talking about. I feel like the most people have read this. I got a couple of people recommending it in the comments in the wrap-up where I talked about reading Odd Magic. So I wanted to give this a try. This is another one actually where I think that she has water magic. She has like an affinity for the sea, and she puts some kind of hex on the sea which causes problems, including bringing the king's changeling son to her and a young magician. So somehow whatever hex she puts on the sea draws them to her. But yeah, so excited to try this one out, and also excited just that it's like a shorter one, so it'll be easy to get through. Next I have In the Forest of Serre, although I'm not really sure, it's S-E-R-R-E. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but I'm saying Serre, which is a fairy tale retelling, I think. One that, again, I don't know too much about this. I mostly picked it because it has the word forest in it. And then the last one that I have is a bind up, but it is the Riddle Master trilogy. So in the Riddle Master series, we are following the Prince of Head, who has some like destiny beyond being the king eventually. And so even though he wants to just like, you know, be a king, rule his people, and kind of go down that road, he has to go off on an adventure that involves lots of riddling wraiths, mysterious harpists, a lost crown, a magical sword, and an all-knowing high one who rules over all. So he is like going through these different adventures in order to complete whatever this destiny is that he has. So this is 3 books put together. The first is The Riddle Master of Head, then is Heir of Sea and Fire, and then the third one is Harpist in the Wind. This is another one of Patricia McKillip's books that I see talked about most often. I feel like the Changeling Sea, the Riddle Master series, and the Forgotten Beasts of Eld, which I already read that one. So I'm trying to kind of hit her most popular ones and hopefully get to this one soon. Okay, so those are all of the books that I recently got in August and September. I would love to know if you have read any of these and if there are any that you especially recommend that you think I should prioritize, or what you're most excited to see me read, see my opinions on. Either way, or just things that you haven't read, like especially the new releases. Are you also excited about any of these? Would just love to know all your thoughts and feelings about all of these books that I recently got, because I am very excited for all of them. But thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!